This video is brought to you by my Patreons. If you want to support the channel, there is a link down below, and to everyone who's on the Patreon already, thank you so much. Mental health ranging from suicide, PTSD, depression, and even psychosis are themes that we've all seen and explored throughout the years of gaming. We relate with these issues and fears and narratives of characters that we're able to experience. Even if it isn't said outright to you that the game is about some sort of subject, it's easy to depict the message and even understand what could be happening in games like Hellblade, A Night in the Woods, A Short Hike, Spec Ops: The Line, and even of course the Silent Hill series. They all have meaning, reasons and responsibilities to mental health as an issue that they try to translate. But today I want to touch on one important game, a game that I have experienced and is something so transforming and emotional to me that it's possibly the most realistic way that mental health has been represented in gaming, and that game is of course Firewatch. Firewatch by Campo Santo was a game unlike any other. It felt like a slice of life game, but from the view of a slice that you'd rather not have. Henry finds out that his wife has an early onset of Alzheimer's, just as life was going good. They had their own home, they were married, they had a dog, everything was great. But then due to his irresponsible natures of drinking, he was unable to look after her and she was taken away. And right then he needed an escape, a restart, a moment to breathe. He decides to take up a job as a Firewatch ranger and accompanied by his task handler Delilah. As they only communicate through radio, they begin to really like one another, and it could be in a romantic way or even just as really close friends. It's entirely up to the player. But they end up being a part of a conspiracy and an operation that is way bigger than themselves. Or so it is believed. That's all I'm going to say on the story right now, of course, but when I did play this game back when it came out, I was blown away, and now going back to it 4 years later as someone who's been experiencing some issues and has ambitions for a future, it hits a new chord with me unlike any other that I've experienced. But before we go too deep into the story and its horror, let's just take a moment and look into the conversation with Delilah. When you first pick up the radio to her, she simply asks,
"So what's wrong with you?"
Excuse me?
"People take this job to get away from something. So what's wrong?"
I wish that in a real life situation a new boss of a job would actually ask me this, allow me to be bare, raw, show my cards immediately. I wish YouTube would ask anyone this, hoping to make content and create videos. I wish YouTube would just turn around and say, well, what's wrong with you? Robin Williams once said, "I think the saddest people always try the hardest to make people happy because they know what it's like to feel absolutely worthless." And this hits a personal place in my heart and is more relatable than anything I've ever heard. Of course, I'm not saying everyone on this platform is broken, but we're all creators for a reason. We need to express, we want to create, have a reason to exist, and most importantly, we all just need an escape. So if someone ever personally asked me what is wrong with me, I would say pay attention to my videos, watch my content, and that's why I want to take this job. As I mentioned earlier, Henry and Delilah begin to get involved in a big conspiracy against them. They're seemingly being tracked and monitored by some sort of stranger in the woods who appears to be one step ahead of them every time, making notes of all their conversations and everything that they say to each other, and even destroying and vandalizing some of their property. Firewatch brilliantly plays on the paranoia of our minds. Within the first hour of the game, we as a player already create ideas and questions of the mystery. Who was that man we bumped into? Where does this fence lead? What happened to the burnt cabin, and why did Delilah go silent when we asked about it? There are so many visual and even conversational narratives that are hinted at to the player. We could spiral off to a path of paranoia, or we can start thinking logically, but the game for a second doesn't allow you to do that. We as the player and even Henry are in a new environment for a reason, but our mind naturally wants to have a distraction from the real reason that we're here in the first place. Instead of thinking about Julia, his wife, Henry and Delilah are too busy playing spy and trying to work out what is happening here. Henry uses this and even Delilah to create a reason not to think about what is actually happening in the real world, and creating a barrier from something that he knows he can't truly run away from forever. I personally suffer from PTSD and heavy anxieties. There are things that I've personally tried to run away from and didn't want to engage with. To this day, I still suffer from sleep paralysis and hypnopompic hallucinations due to my PTSD and fears. I had vivid dreams and even full conversations with people who aren't even there in my sleep, and people will tell me I say the most ridiculous and do the most stupid things and I will not remember what you're talking about. It doesn't happen when I'm awake, it doesn't happen during the day, it's literally only when I sleep, and even then it maybe happens about 3 times a week or more. These can be caused by anxieties and even stress, and even then trauma from the past, on which I do suffer a lot from. I'm currently going through it in my therapy, and we're actually looking to explore exactly what causes these and exactly what I most vividly dream about. But for me personally, I couldn't tell you the difference from night and day if these are real or not. I will have a full conversation with someone, and I even once broke a lamp because I believe someone came in to my room and broke it for me, and I was told that I did it myself. These are something I suffer from because of my anxieties and the stuff that I've decided to bottle up. And this happens to Henry at one point in the game, and that's when I realised that this game was more emotional and even connecting than I could ever imagine. Henry wakes up in the middle of the night to hear his radio calling. He answers it and it turns out to be his wife Julia. He has a full conversation with her, he can hear her accent, he knows it's her. Not for a second does he question the reality of actually what's going on, because he knows deep down in his heart that he has to tackle this onwards. He can't escape the reality of what's happened, and he knows, and he's trying to distract himself, but his mind is reminding him that it's all too real. Even if it's a dream, he knows he has to think about her, and he knows he will eventually have to engage exactly what happened between those two. And right now I'm going to talk about something really close to home for me. I hope many others can relate with me as well, but I'm going to talk about schizophrenia. It's one of my biggest fears in recent years. It's a mental health issue that runs deep in my family, and I actually have someone very close to me that suffers from it severely. I have only witnessed an episode break out once, but that was enough to traumatise me for life. But to put it plainly, he believed I was a part of something that I wasn't and outright attacked me. Not physically, didn't hurt me, but did end up smashing my Nintendo 3DS the Christmas I actually got it. I of course don't blame him, and I've learned to not hold it against him because I understand it wasn't his fault. Did it traumatise me? Yes. Did I have a grudge against him shortly? Yes, but that's because I didn't really understand the situation. But as I've grown up, I've come to understand the compassion and understanding of exactly what is wrong with him. He is sick and it wasn't his fault at all. But what scared me the most out of that situation was schizophrenia itself. Many people who have schizophrenia have proven to live a functional and even normal life with it, but there are some that aren't that lucky. It's not proven to be 100% genetic and even can be down to upbringing and even drug use, but I still have that fear that one day I may have it. The dreams and the anxieties I have are scary to me, but I also worry that these are only just the side effects to early onset schizophrenia. How does this fit all into Firewatch, you may ask? Well, Henry has this fear too. There is a moment where he breaks down and he lets it all out.
Am I just making all of this up? I mean, the eavesdropping, the spying, is this... Fuck, is any of this real?
What? Are you serious?
Maybe I'm just losing my mind.
What?
Like Julia. And maybe it's happening to me, and I'm imagining that I have a boss out here and that we're being spied on.
Henry.
Maybe there was something in the water, or our condo was underneath some power lines, and you, Delilah, you're not real.
Henry, think about her. If what happened to her were happening to you, you wouldn't even be able to realize it.
Okay.
Henry, sweetie, I am real and this is happening. I'm as real as the sky is blue. Take a second and then call me back. I'm on your side.
People who are affected by people in their family and loved ones who've become ill are often fearful of getting sick too. And to that, we're also afraid that we're going to let down and even harm our own family. Do I hallucinate when I'm awake or even hear voices? I do not. But I know there are chances and even symptoms that I need to watch out for just so I can understand exactly what I'm tackling. Henry needed Delilah to bring him back from a panic attack. He was having a moment, a breakdown, and even showed that he had the fear of getting as sick as Julia. He was afraid that everything he was encountering was all made up in the mind and was made from the stress of his previous life. Delilah was there for Henry to bring him back to the real world. And for me, I have many people and I have many types of Delilahs. My girlfriend, my best friend, and even close family. They're all here, but also I know I also have this platform. I'm able to tell stories and hope to speak to others who are in the same situation as me. And of course, just as the developers of Campo Santo, we're able to create stories that we hope people can look up to. So thank you, Firewatch, for having me look into this and having me experience some of my own raw feelings through the illnesses and mental health of humans. For Henry, the Firewatch job was exactly what he needed. He needed a distraction from his own life and the excitement to allow him to be a part of something new. Even if it was stressful, it allowed him to erupt everything that he once had bottled up. He needed a Delilah to remind him that he is a good person, that he is still able to move on in the future, and that maybe there could be a chance between him and her, but also reminded him to see his wife and face his fears head on. Being followed by a stranger and even feared their own life at certain moments, and being part of a conspiracy was probably the best thing that could have happened for Henry and Delilah in that moment, and it was the perfect escape that he needed. Being able to talk and communicate with you as the viewer through reading comments lets me know that I've personally helped people, and it could remind me that maybe I'm sometimes a Delilah that people need in their stories. Hearing how I've helped you and some people even telling me how I've inspired them to do certain things is more heart touching and inspiring than you could ever know, and you guys are exactly what I need right now. It makes me realise that YouTube isn't my escape anymore, but it's my home, my platform, and even responsibility that I never want to let down. I love talking from the heart and creating videos that I hope both are enjoyable and helpful to others. But being on this platform has truly humbled me and reminded me that we all sometimes just need a little escape. Thank you. Thank you everybody for watching this video. I had to put a little bit more heart touching in this, and I had to really speak about schizophrenia because it has been on my mind for the last few weeks. I've been thinking about its effects and how it affects me as a person, and I just really hope that if there's anyone else that has this fear or even phobia of getting sick like this, you are able to speak to people. There are websites, there are therapists, there are doctors. If you have this on your chest or you need to get it off, then please go speak to someone, because of course it will mean a lot to you to be able to express this to somebody else who possibly understands on more of a professional nature than a stupid YouTube boy like me. And of course, if you did enjoy this video, feel free to leave a like, a comment down below, subscribe for more videos like this every Thursday, and I will see you at the next checkpoints. Goodbye.